A custodian's attempt to soothe the distressed autistic child, unbeknownst to her wealthy mother, observing from afar, escalates when the child's minder forcefully intervenes. The security guard's sharp reprimand reverberated through the polished expanse of Wardstone Corporation's lobby like a lash. Marcus Williams, still grasping his cleaning implement, halted mid-stride, witnessing the unfolding commotion. At the heart of the disturbance, a small, fair-haired girl, perhaps 6 years of age, sat on the chilled floor, her body bowed as she clutched her knees, rhythmically rocking. Her azure gaze flickered about as though trapped avian creatures. Surrounding her, 5 suited executives stood like inert ornaments, murmuring about developmental stages and behavioral challenges. Marcus, at 42, possessed 2 decades of experience with children facing developmental hurdles, initially as an educator, and subsequently as the father of a daughter on the autism spectrum. He recognized the signs of sensory overload and acutely understood the profound ignorance of the affluent individuals present. "May I offer assistance?" Marcus inquired, his tranquil tone cutting through the collective apprehension. The security officer interposed himself, barring Marcus's path. "You're merely the night attendant. Stay clear of this." He added a stark warning. The last staff member who approached her was dismissed immediately. Marcus offered no verbal reply. Instead, his eyes met the child's, and an unspoken acknowledgement passed between them, a silent recognition that transcended any societal divide. He recognized that same disoriented expression from his own daughter, Zoe, years prior. Completely disregarding the security guard's prohibition, Marcus proceeded to his cleaning cart, retrieved a small bottle of cleaning solution, and without a word, settled onto the luxurious Italian marble floor, maintaining a respectful distance of 10 feet from the child. He dipped his fingers into the water in his pail and began to blow soap bubbles. 1, 2, 3. The girl's rhythmic swaying gradually subsided, her attention captured by the shimmering orbs that ascended into the air like fleeting secrets. Marcus continued, each bubble a small masterpiece of transient beauty, each carrying away a fragment of the prevailing tension. From the upper gallery, a woman observed in silence. Gabrielle Ward, the formidable chief executive officer of Wardstone Biotech, a woman who had navigated discussions with global leaders and thwarted hostile takeovers before her midday meal, now found herself breathless, watching a custodian calm her daughter with a simple stream of bubbles. Eva, her daughter, her enigma, her most profound responsibility, was finally still. Not due to the therapists commanding $15,000 weekly, nor the specialists flown in from Switzerland, but because of a black man in a janitorial uniform who possessed the fortitude to sit on the floor. Gabrielle descended via the elevator, the sharp click of her Louboutin heels punctuating the marble expanse as she approached the scene. The assembled executives instinctively straightened, but Marcus continued his bubble-blowing, utterly oblivious to the impending corporate storm. "Mr. Williams," Gabrielle's voice sliced through the air with the harshness of shattered glass, "I require your immediate attention." Marcus rose slowly, his gaze still fixed upon the girl, who now lay on her side, entirely placid, observing a solitary bubble suspended just above her face. He understood his dismissal was imminent, 20 years of his professional life potentially erased by a single act of empathy. Yet, when he met Gabrielle Ward's gaze, he perceived something entirely unexpected. Not animosity, but something far more potent. Gratitude. And for those familiar with true power, their gratitude invariably carries an unforeseen price. If you find this narrative of a simple act of kindness poised to transform 2 lives profoundly compelling, please consider subscribing to the channel, as the events that transpired in that office over the subsequent 15 minutes would fundamentally redefine the established order. Gabrielle Ward's executive suite occupied the entirety of the 42nd floor, its floor-to-ceiling windows providing an unobstructed vista of Manhattan, a panorama valued at more than many individuals earn in an entire decade. Marcus entered with measured steps, the soft tread of his rubber-soled shoes muffled by a Persian rug, valued in the 6 figures. "Be seated," Gabrielle commanded, gesturing towards a leather chair that likely surpassed Marcus's monthly earnings. She remained standing behind her expansive glass desk, a tactic of intimidation she had honed through countless corporate confrontations. "Who instructed you in that methodology?" she finally inquired, her piercing blue eyes fixing upon him with laser-like intensity. The bubbles, the technique, whatever that was. Marcus inhaled deeply. My daughter is on the autism spectrum. I learned out of necessity. Your daughter? Gabrielle echoed, repeating the phrase as if testing an unfamiliar notion. And where did you acquire your knowledge of therapeutic techniques? Some extension course, a weekend workshop. The condescension was subtle, yet Marcus recognized it instantly. 20 years of dealing with affluent parents who equated wealth with expertise had trained him to discern that particular tone. I served as a special education teacher for 17 years, he responded calmly. My specialization is in autism spectrum disorders from Columbia University. I hold a master's degree in educational psychology. The ensuing silence was profound. Gabrielle blinked once, then again, as if processing a system malfunction. Teacher, she articulated the word slowly, as though savoring a particularly elaborate fabrication. And currently, you are employed as a night custodian. Individuals must sustain themselves, Marcus stated plainly. Educational funding was curtailed. Special education programs were among the first to be eliminated. It is hardly a thriving market for educators specializing in children whom the system prefers to overlook. Gabrielle finally sat down, her composure faltering for the first time in years. Are you suggesting you possess more credentials than the majority of the therapists I have engaged for Eva? I am suggesting that credentials on paper are meaningless without the ability to establish a connection. Marcus leaned forward slightly. How many specialists have you consulted regarding Eva? 10, 20? All possessing impressive degrees and even more impressive fee structures. The muscle in Gabrielle's jaw tightened. 43. 43 distinct professionals over a period of 4 years. And how many of them elicited speech from her? None, Marcus nodded, because they sought to fix her. I sought to understand her. Gabrielle remained silent for an extended interval, scrutinizing the man before her. Everything about him challenged her meticulously constructed categories. A black custodian with a master's degree, a man who cleaned restrooms yet spoke with academic precision, someone she had deemed expendable, yet who possessed precisely the expertise she had desperately sought for years. I wish to offer you employment, she declared finally, as a therapeutic consultant for Eva. $15,000 monthly, part-time. You may retain your current position until we confirm efficacy. Marcus emitted a low, resonant laugh that echoed through the marble and steel confines of the office. Ms. Ward, you are not offering me a job. You are attempting to extricate yourself from a moral predicament. Gabrielle's countenance hardened instantaneously. Excuse me. You have just realized you fundamentally misjudge someone based on their attire and the hue of their skin. Now, you aim to employ me as a means of alleviating your own guilt regarding your ingrained prejudices. I am not prejudiced, Gabrielle retorted, her voice sharp as fractured glass. Then why did you assume I was merely an uneducated custodian? Why did you not inquire about my background before deeming me unsuitable to be near your daughter? Gabrielle opened her mouth to reply, then closed it. For the first time in decades, someone had breached her corporate defenses and revealed a truth she preferred to ignore. Marcus slowly stood. Ava does not require another costly employee, Ms. Ward. She requires someone who perceives her for who she is, not the project you wish her to become. Then what is your proposal? Gabrielle's voice had softened, shifting from command to genuine inquiry. Permit me to spend time with her. No cameras, no timers, no progress reports. Simply time. He paused at the threshold, then added, with a smile that was both genuine and subtly disquieting, and in return, perhaps your daughter will come to understand that the world is not solely a desolate expanse populated by individuals intent on altering her. He turned to depart, then paused once more. Oh, and Mrs. Ward, the next time someone stops to assist your daughter, perhaps consider inquiring about their qualifications before presuming they lack them. The door closed with a soft click, leaving Gabrielle alone with a realization that troubled her more than any courtroom defeat or stock market loss. She had discovered precisely what she sought in the most unexpected of places, and had nearly forfeited it due to her own preconceptions. However, She was unaware that Marcus Williams had spent 4 years observing the powerful and affluent during their most vulnerable moments, cleaning their offices, overhearing their private conversations, and witnessing their vulnerabilities when they believed themselves unobserved. And now, for the first time, one of them had provided him with precisely the opportunity he had been awaiting to demonstrate that intellect and compassion were not dictated by price tags or dress codes. 3 days elapsed before Gabrielle Ward broke the silence. The call arrived during Marcus's night shift. Her voice altered, less authoritative, more tinged with human uncertainty. "Eva has not eaten since our discussion," she stated without preamble. "She has not drawn. She has not spoken. She is regressing." Marcus paused his cleaning of the executive washroom. "And what is it you expect from me?" "Accept my offer, please. My terms remain unchanged. No oversight, no timers, no reports." "Agreed." The following morning, Marcus arrived at Gabrielle's penthouse on the Upper East Side, his 16-year-old daughter, Zoe, accompanying him. The teenager, possessing her father's emotional acuity and the perceptive insights of someone who had navigated the world from a distinct vantage point, carried a backpack filled with art supplies. "I thought Eva might benefit from interacting with someone closer to her age," Marcus explained when Gabrielle opened the door, her surprise evident. "She is 16, Gabrielle observed, as if this presented an obstacle. "And Eva is 8. At times, the age disparity creates a secure environment that peers cannot provide." Zoe offered a polite smile. "Hello, Mrs. Ward. My father has told me about Eva. I've brought some materials that might capture her interest." Gabrielle studied the young woman, noting her quiet self-assurance, the unforced manner of her speech, and her natural entry into the apartment, as if she belonged there. It was unsettling to witness such composure in someone so young, particularly from a background so divergent from her own. Eva was in her customary position, curled in the corner of her room. However, upon seeing Zoe, a subtle shift occurred in her eyes. The teenager casually settled onto the floor, retrieving watercolors and textured paper from her backpack. "Hi, Eva, I'm Zoe. You don't have to speak with me if you prefer not to, but I thought we could paint together." What transpired over the ensuing 2 hours completely disarmed Gabrielle. Not only did Eva approach Zoe, but she began to blend colors, creating hues she had never explored before. And when Zoe began to narrate stories about the colors, how blue represented the sky yearning to embrace the earth, how yellow was the sun's laughter, Eva softly uttered her first word in days. "Orange." "That's correct," Zoe affirmed with a smile. "Orange is when red and yellow decide to dance together." Marcus observed from the doorway, making mental annotations not only concerning Eva, but also Gabrielle's reactions. The woman was discreetly recording with her cell phone, a habitual corporate practice of documenting everything, yet it also signaled something more profound. For the first time, she perceived her daughter not as a problem to be resolved, but as an individual being understood. However, this period of tranquility was short-lived. "Mrs. Ward," a voice emanated from the intercom. "Dr. Peaton is here for his scheduled session with Eva." Gabrielle's expression grew stern. "I had completely forgotten." Dr. Harrison Peaton embodied the archetype of the expert Gabrielle typically engaged. A Harvard graduate, impeccably dressed in expensive suits, commanding exorbitant fees, and exuding an arrogance that permeated any space before his physical arrival. At 52, he had cultivated a lucrative career treating the offspring of the elite, charging $15,000 per session for methodologies he could have acquired from any basic professional manual. "Gabrielle, my dear," he announced, entering the apartment as if he were its proprietor, barely acknowledging Marcus and Zoe. "Let us ascertain our little Eva's progress today." He faltered upon observing the scene on the floor, Eva painting calmly beside Zoe, Marcus seated nearby, diligently recording notes in a well-worn notebook. "What is the meaning of this?" Peaton inquired, his voice heavy with professional disdain. "Who are these individuals?" "Dr. Peaton, this is Marcus Williams and his daughter Zoe. They are assisting Eva." Peaton released a laugh that resembled a harsh bark. "Assisting? Gabrielle, you cannot permit just anyone to interact with a child requiring specialized care. That is both irresponsible and potentially detrimental." Marcus rose slowly, his stature becoming more pronounced. "Dr. Peaton, is it not? I have perused some of your publications. It is curious how your groundbreaking techniques are virtually indistinguishable from the standard practices that educators employed a decade ago. Educators? Peyton guffawed again. Ah, so you are one of those. Allow me to surmise. Special education, perhaps some community college studies. You labor under the belief that affection and perseverance resolve all ailments. Columbia University, a master's degree in educational psychology, 17 years of practical experience. And you are correct on one point. I firmly believe that affection and perseverance are more effective than arrogance and inflated charges. The ensuing silence was charged with tension. Ava had ceased painting and was observing the adults, her shoulders beginning to stiffen. Dr. Peyton, Gabrielle stated, her tone now glacial. If you intend to continue my services, I must insist that you keep amateurs away from Eva's treatment. This is entirely unprofessional. Gabrielle glanced at Eva, who had instinctively moved closer to Zoe, then at Marcus, who remained remarkably composed despite the evident hostility, and finally at Peyton, whose posture exuded the authority she had unquestioningly respected for years. Dr. Peyton, she declared finally, perhaps we could reschedule for another day. If that is how you wish to proceed with your daughter's therapeutic regimen, he replied, retrieving his leather briefcase. I cannot assume responsibility for the outcomes. When this experiment inevitably falters, my contact information will remain accessible. Following his departure, the apartment fell into a profound silence. Ava had resumed her painting, but her brushstrokes were more rapid, more agitated. Does he always speak in such a manner? Zoe inquired. Gabrielle nodded slowly. Most experts, they possess such unwavering certainty. Certainty, Marcus murmured, jotting something in his notebook, is a luxury afforded only to those who have never harbored doubt. That night, after Marcus and Zoe had departed, Gabrielle lay awake, reviewing all she had witnessed. For the first time in years, Eva had spent 3 uninterrupted hours without a single episode of distress. She had experimented with new colors. She had established a connection with another individual, and the man who had facilitated this was summarily discredited by an expert whose fee for a single session exceeded Marcus's earnings for 2 months. What she failed to realize was that during those 3 hours, Marcus had been observing not only Eva, but also Gabrielle. Every reaction, every hesitation, every flicker of doubt had been meticulously documented in his notebook. For Marcus Williams had learned a crucial lesson during his years spent cleaning executive offices. The world's most influential individuals are seldom confronted with their own inconsistencies. And when such a confrontation finally occurs, the revelation can be profoundly unsettling. As he traversed the darkened streets toward the subway, Marcus opened his phone and dispatched a message to a contact he had not utilized in months. I require a favor tomorrow evening. It pertains to the project we previously discussed. The reply arrived within seconds. I believed you had abandoned that concept. I relinquished many things when my wife passed, but certain struggles are worth persevering for, particularly when one finally identifies the appropriate arena. The emergency convocation of the Wardstone Biotech Medical Board convened on a somber Thursday, initiated by Dr. Peyton, upon discovering Marcus's formal appointment as Ava's therapeutic consultant. The conference room exuded the aromas of expensive coffee and wounded egos. This is preposterous, Peyton declared, forcefully depositing his documents onto the glass tabletop. A corporation of Wardstone's caliber cannot permit unqualified charlatans to jeopardize legitimate medical treatment. Dr. Miranda Foster, a pediatric neuropsychiatrist, vigorously concurred. I could not agree more. Soap bubble therapy, that is dangerous pseudoscience. Gabrielle occupied the head of the table, her laptop open, though her attention was divided between the discourse and the photographs she was concurrently receiving from Ava. The images depicted the girl painting, smiling, and engaging with Zoe in ways that had not been observed for years. Ms. Ward, Dr. Peyton leaned forward. I must be direct. Should you persist with this trial, I can no longer lend my name to Eva's care. My professional standing is on the line. Your standing, doctor? Peyton, Gabrielle repeated slowly. Based on what empirical evidence? Precisely? The subsequent silence was profoundly uncomfortable. In 2 years of treatment, Eva had exhibited no discernible progress under Peyton's supervision. Then, the door swung open and Marcus entered, clad not in his janitorial attire, but in a modest suit, carrying a leather briefcase. Accompanying him was an elegant silver-haired woman whom no one immediately recognized. "Mrs. Ward, thank you for permitting my participation in this discussion," Marcus stated calmly, pointedly ignoring the hostile glares directed at him around the table. "You were not invited, Doctor," Foster interjected sharply. "Actually, I requested his presence," the woman accompanying Marcus remarked with a smile. "I am Dr. Sarah Chun, Editor-in-Chief of the Journal of Child Psychology. I am here to address certain concerning irregularities that have come to our attention." Peyton's complexion visibly paled. Marcus opened his briefcase and withdrew a series of documents. "During my 4 years of employment within this building at night, I have inadvertently gained access to numerous conversations and documents. Initially, I disregarded this, but upon observing a recurring pattern, I commenced meticulous documentation." He slid photographs across the table. "Dr. Peyton, these are reproductions of your reports concerning Evo over the past 18 months. Each is identical, varying only in the dates. Copying and pasting is hardly what I would classify as personalized care. That is an invasion of privacy," Peyton stammered. "It is documentation of medical fraud," Dr. Chun corrected icily. "Charging $15,000 per session while utilizing prefabricated reports constitutes a federal offense." Marcus continued, his voice unwavering amidst the burgeoning chaos surrounding the table. "Dr. Foster, here are transcribed records of your telephone conversations wherein you discuss the strategic extension of treatment protocols for affluent children to maximize financial returns. These were inadvertently captured by the office surveillance system, but are perfectly intelligible." Dr. Foster abruptly stood, overturning her chair. "I shall sue all of you." "With what financial resources?" Marcus inquired, a smile gracing his lips for the first time. "Because the federal investigation into your overbilling scheme commenced this morning, predicated on evidence I have meticulously gathered over the past 4 years." Gabrielle observed, utterly captivated, as the individuals who had commodified her maternal anxieties began to disintegrate before her eyes. "Do you know what else I discovered?" Marcus opened another file. Eva was not the sole child subjected to deliberately protracted, ineffective treatments. I have found documentation pertaining to 17 distinct families, all billed for therapeutic interventions that these professionals knew were inadequate. Dr. Peyton attempted one final gambit. "You are merely a custodian with a savior complex. No court will lend credence to your accusations." Marcus laughed, a rich, genuine sound that echoed through the room. "Dr. Peyton, you are correct on one point. I am merely a caretaker, but I am also the caretaker who spent 1,400 nights tending to your workplaces, overhearing your private discussions, and taking pictures of documents you carelessly left unattended on your desks." He then addressed Gabrielle directly. "And I am the individual who recognized that Eva did not require more costly therapeutic interventions. She needed someone who perceived her as a human being, not merely a revenue stream." Dr. Peyton rose, attempting to salvage some shred of his dignity. "This situation is far from concluded. I possess influence and connections. You, on the other hand, have Dr. Chen, as corrected. The State Medical Board will receive notification today. Your professional licenses are currently under review, and the families you preyed upon have already been approached by legal counsel specializing in medical malpractice." As Peyton and Foster departed the room like individuals fleeing a crime scene, Gabrielle remained alone with Marcus and Dr. Chun. "Why did you offer your assistance?" Gabrielle inquired. Marcus secured his briefcase. "Because Eva merited someone who would champion her cause, and because, at times, justice requires observers whom no one suspects are paying attention." At that precise moment, Gabrielle's mobile device vibrated, indicating an incoming message from Zoe. Eva articulated her inaugural complete sentence today. "Daddy Marcus is returning tomorrow." Gabrielle gazed at Marcus, tears welling in her eyes. "She referred to you as Daddy." "Children," Marcus responded with a smile. "They instinctively understand who genuinely cares for them, irrespective of academic accolades displayed on walls or their billed hourly compensation. However, A reality unknown to any of them was that this event would merely foreshadow numerous subsequent transformations. Because when you confront an entire established order founded upon bias and avarice, the repercussions you instigate possess the potential to alter far more than an individual's destiny. 6 months elapsed. Marcus Williams stood on the principal platform of the Jacob Javits Convention Center, accepting a resounding ovation from more than 3,000 mental health professionals assembled for the National Autism Congress. Standing beside him, Eva offered a shy smile, clutching a vibrant pink microphone she had deliberately selected for this significant occasion. "My designation is Eva," she announced, her voice exceptionally clear and resonating throughout the expansive auditorium. "And this is Daddy Marcus. He imparted to me the understanding that exhibiting differences does not inherently signify being damaged." The assembled crowd erupted in enthusiastic applause. In the foremost row, Gabrielle discreetly wiped a tear from her eye, no longer concerned with her meticulously cultivated professional persona. Dr. Peaton and Dr. Foster had devolved into pariahs within the medical community. Federal inquiries culminated in individual penalties of $2 million each, the revocation of their medical certifications, and a roster of malpractice litigation that would occupy their professional attention for the subsequent 10 years. Peaton was presently engaged in selling life insurance over the telephone from Newark. Foster had relocated to Montana, where he was endeavoring to reconstruct his existence as a rideshare driver. The Williams Ward Initiative, dedicated to neurodiverse inclusivity, Marcus continued, transcends mere therapeutic intervention. It is fundamentally about recognizing that each child contributes unique aptitudes to the world, which we must cultivate a capacity to appreciate. The philanthropic organization he and Gabrielle had jointly established had already imparted training to more than 500 educators in unconventional methodologies. The therapeutic bubble technique had been rigorously documented in 17 academic investigations, demonstrating superior outcomes compared to conventional treatments in 86% of instances. Zoe, now 17 years of age, had emerged as a nationally recognized proponent for the rights of neurodiverse children. Her address to Congress 3 months prior had directly resulted in the enactment of federal legislation guaranteeing equitable access to alternative therapies within the public healthcare system. "Do you comprehend what moves me the most?" Marcus continued, observing the rapt attention on the faces before him. "Ava is no longer isolated. We currently support 237 children within the program, each diligently discovering their individual mode of expression through colors, sounds, and movements. And their parents, who are executives, doctors, and educators, are learning that genuine affection operates without adherence to any technical protocol." Gabrielle had relinquished her position as the chief executive of Wardstone Biotech to dedicate her full energies to the foundation. Her substantial personal wealth, previously concentrated on corporate acquisitions, now facilitated the establishment of inclusion centers across 16 different states. The Wall Street Journal had featured her on its cover with the headline, "From the Boardroom to the Floor: How a CEO Learned to Lead on Her Knees." "People frequently inquire," Marcus remarked with a smile directed at a live camera lens, "whether I experience resentment for the years I spent engaged in menial cleaning duties when I might have been imparting knowledge. The unvarnished truth is that those years imparted lessons that no university could replicate. The ability to observe, the capacity to listen, the discernment to recognize value in places where others perceive only obscurity." Ava stepped back up to the microphone. "Daddy Marcus states, we are all artistic creations. Some of us simply require different palettes." Within the audience, parents openly wept. Professionals diligently recorded every detail. Journalists meticulously documented each utterance from a young girl who, merely 3 years prior, had been deemed beyond hope by the conventional medical establishment. "The ultimate irony," Marcus concluded, "is that the very individuals who attempted to suppress my voice inadvertently amplified it to the entire global populace." Dr. Peaton was accurate in one assertion. I was indeed a humble caretaker. However, he neglected to consider that caretakers dedicate years to observing, learning, and documenting, and when they ultimately decide to communicate, they possess a wealth of insights to share. The audience collectively rose to its feet in a standing ovation. Camera flashes illuminated the scene. Social media platforms were ablaze with the hashtags #JanitorTeacher and #EvaCore. That evening, during the celebratory gala dinner, Marcus was presented with the National Award for Innovation in Special Education. In his acceptance remarks, he consecrated the award to all the children unjustly labeled as flawed, when they were, in reality, merely miscomprehended, and to the parents who exhibited the fortitude to challenge purportedly authoritative figures who levied exorbitant fees to implement biases masquerading as scientific principles. Ava rested peacefully on Gabrielle's lap during the journey home, her fingers still bearing the vibrant hues of blue and yellow paint from the artistic endeavors she had led earlier. Zoe was occupied with editing a video on her laptop, meticulously documenting another typical day in the existence of a family that had fundamentally redefined the very concept of normalcy. "Do you comprehend what instigated the pivotal shift?" Gabrielle inquired of Marcus as they observed the sprawling urban panorama gliding past their vehicle's windows. "What?" he responded. "You steadfastly refused to acquiesce to the subordinate position they sought to impose upon you. Had you persisted as merely the unnoticed caretaker, Eva would likely remain without a voice. I would still be patronizing charlatans, and an additional 237 families would still be fruitlessly seeking resolutions in inappropriate avenues." Marcus offered a gentle smile. "At times, the most effective form of retribution is not to dismantle those who underestimate you. It is to prove them so profoundly incorrect that the entire world takes notice." Presently, the Williams methodology is integrated into the curricula of 43 universities. Ava, at 12 years of age, creates artwork that is exhibited and sold in prominent New York galleries, with all proceeds channeled towards supporting inclusion programs. And Marcus, he never again had to clean a restroom throughout his professional life. Yet he prominently displays his janitorial uniform, encased in a frame in his office, accompanied by a plaque that states, "A reminder of when individuals believed they understood my identity." If this narrative, detailing how one individual transformed societal prejudice into personal purpose, has resonated deeply with you, kindly subscribe to this channel for further accounts that illustrate how the most significant societal shifts occur when we cease to accept the limitations imposed upon us by others, and commence the construction of the world our children rightfully deserve.